I have like this, like this two ideas about salvation. One is like once you accept Christ and so to speak. I'll say that. I don't mean to put that part, but once you accept Him and you get on the path of seeing, trying to do the right thing and follow His way, that seems to be one way of saying, well, in my mind, as long as you have that, you're saved. Because once you're on the path, then you're saved. Because then there's always hope for you to be free.
Right.
Then on the other side, I see that. To me, it seems like, and it could be I'm saying this, but it's also a question too.
Right.
But it seems to me like if being saved is more like not being no longer subject to your thoughts.
So you have two ideas about salvation.
Yeah, or getting to a point to where you're living in faith, and you're actually, and your thoughts no longer you're no longer believing in your thoughts.
So Sonia, you're walking down the road, and Marcus come along, and he knows that you are a Christian because you have this halo over your head. He said, Miss, I have two ideas about salvation. One is you never live in your thoughts again, and you start to get over this stuff. And the other one is whatever else he said. What would you say?
From my thinking, I thought we were all saved.
That's what you would say to him?
Yeah, that's what I was brought up to believe.
Oh, okay. And what does that mean that we are all saved?
I mean, I thought once Jesus died on the cross, I thought that was like done, like we were all saved.
Well, we definitely done so that we have a way to return.
I mean, because in a way, I think two ways too. I mean, I thought we were all saved, but I thought it was up to us to meet Him, let's say halfway or something like that.
Meet Him in the fork of the road.
Yeah, but I thought it was all set up for us to be saved.
Right. Okay. And what would you say to him? You're a Christian, right?
Yes.
This is your first time here?
Yes.
And so you're a little Christian walking down the road, all holy, and you run up on Marcus and he noticed that you're a Christian, and he asked you those questions. What would you say?
Oh, that's kind of hard because I actually, what he said, that's how I feel too.
Oh, you feel the same way?
Yeah, and Sonia, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry?
And the way Sonia feels too.
So you feel like everybody?
Well, just Sonia and Marcus.
Oh, okay. I love that. And so, Mary, what would you say? Because I know you're holy. I've known you for a long time. What would you say? You're saved, sanctified, and running for your life?
I say, go see Jesse.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm pretty bad. I say, go see Jesse. I'm not sure.
So are you saved?
Saved? I believe so, but I'm not sure.
You believe so, but you're not sure.
Right.
That's pretty messed up.
That's bad, right?
Yeah. What would you say, Marilyn? You got a little salvation thing going. What would you say to Marcus?
I would tell him I have a headache. I can't answer you right now because I have a headache.
So what would you say?
That's what I would say. I have a
Are
headache.
you
I
saved?
can't answer you right now. Am I saved? Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. You're saved.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to him then, since you are saved? He has these two ideas about salvation. What would you say? Is being saved having knowledge of your imagination? Let him have the mic again. I'm sorry. He can't be speaking off the mic.
Is salvation having, been given the knowledge and the path to follow, and as long as you decided to accept that path, and you basically you're saved because you're eventually going to get there, or is it just simply being no longer believing in the lies and in your thoughts in your mind? Does that make you saved?
It's both. He says it's both. What do you say to that now, Marilyn?
I can. I'm like, I would say it's the second one.
The second one.
Yeah.
The second box.
The second one.
What do you say, Kelly?
I think it's both what he's saying.
You think it's both? Okay. Right here. Then I'll give my little answer to it. This is so fun. Salvation.
I think it's both, but as far as the knowledge and walking, you can't. You got to have the knowledge and you have to walk the path.
Oh, okay.
Because
so both plus knowledge.
Yeah, because if you know right and you still choose to do wrong, then
Do you ever choose to do wrong?
Yeah.
Why?
It's different now than before. Like before, I just did it and I didn't care.
Right.
Now, like when I do something that I don't do it as often, but now it's like a choice. Like I chose to do wrong, and
why would you choose to do wrong?
As far as like having sex or and that's really what it was. Like choosing to have sex, and it's not at the time it wasn't even like I really was fiending and wanted it or whatever the case may be.
You went all fired up.
Yeah, I just kind of did it, and then afterwards I was like, and that was the last time. And after that,
so even though you were not all fired up, you were somewhat fired up.
Yeah.
You decided I'm gonna go and do it anyway.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, and then I felt convicted.
Yeah. So did the firing up make you do it? If you had not been fired up at all, would you have done it?
I might have still probably just did it just to do it. Like for that particular time, like I kind of just did it just.
So you think you have a choice to do good or do bad?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
And okay, I'll come back to that.
All right.
So let me tell you about salvation. You're all wrong about it. Salvation is nothing that you can imagine. The mind cannot conceive salvation. It cannot. The mind does not understand the things of God at all. Not one iota. And so everything that your mind tell you about salvation, let it go. It's straight out of hell. It's an illusion. It's deception. It cannot know the things of God. The mind is as far from God as the east is from the west. It has no clue. And the mind is Satan deceiving you, presenting himself as God. Everything that he says to you, whether they're good or bad, and the way that he makes you feel are all wrong all the time. You got to doubt everything that your mind tells you. Or you would think, because if you don't, you would think that you have salvation and you don't. Like a whole lot of, and I used to think that too, because I did what most Christians do. Went to church, went down to the front, accepted Jesus, Lord and Savior, nothing changed. Felt good for a moment, and then when I would go back into doing those things I didn't want to do, I felt guilty about them, because now I've heard that it's wrong to do them. And the guilt would come from me judging myself, because Satan would say, go ahead, do it. You haven't done it in a while. You're not that fired up. No big deal. Yeah. And then I'll do it, and then Satan said, look at you, you're supposed to be a little Christian. You're supposed to be saved. And now I'm judging myself from that. And God is not in the midst at all. My relationship was still with Satan and me, because he presented himself as God. Isn't that amazing? He made a promise that he was going to do that. He told God, I'm going to deceive every man, woman, and child, because I'm going to be you. Everything you do, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to convince them that I am God, because they're going to believe me. Isn't that amazing? And so the voice that you hear in your head, the voice that's telling you is not knowing you, it's not giving it to thoughts, or whatever else you said, all lies, all from Satan. You have to learn to doubt every thought you get. God said that my children shall know me by my voice. And his voice is a voiceless voice. He doesn't talk to you. He revealed to you. It's a quiet, still, voiceless voice. But this voice that you hear in your head, quoting the scriptures, reminding you of what you have learned, and all the stuff you see going on, is the voice of the devil. It really, really is, without a doubt. And if you, like Adam, before Adam fell into that, he only heard the voice of God, and he was only able to believe the truth, because he was one with his Father. And then this whole the Adam and Eve thing, happened, and he doubted the truth and believed into the lie, and he fell away from his father. He doubted. And so that's what we're living now until we overcome that. We're living in doubt because we believe the lie. Adam could only believe the truth, but because we were born in sin, we only believe the lie. So now if we can doubt the lie, then we have the truth. Isn't that like simple? That makes sense? Yeah. You got to doubt the lie.
I just had a comment. I can see that everywhere, like the trickery.
Yes.
Like even with the New Age movement.
Yeah.
And sometimes I didn't read some of those books. It sounds very similar to the Bible, but it's not.
It's not.
They use everything but God, and they make it very similar.
Yeah.
So people more go this way instead of going this way.
That's right.
And it also kind of reminds me of like taking a test. Like, you know, you take a test, and it's like 4 questions, and it's one that you just know is wrong. And
That's
then
right.
it's like the second one that kind of sound right. And then you want to pick the right one, and it seemed like the second one is more right than the one that first stood out to
That's
you.
right.
And then you end up picking the one that looks very close to the right one. And then when you get the test back, it's wrong. You're
It's
like, oh my
wrong.
God.
I've
So
been
it's
there,
like you
done
see
that.
it in everything.
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
And especially now, and especially with men being so weak. Because men are Christ on earth, and because the men are not bringing the light into the family, into the earth, it's just darkness is taking over. I was on the airplane this morning coming back, and so I get on the plane, I'm putting my bag up in the overhead thing, and this little flight attendant girl said, oh, so I was adjusting some bags that were up there so I could put my bag in, and she's like, don't move those bags. Like real loud, right? I was like, wow. I said, first of all, you need to watch the way you're speaking to me. Just yelled it out, and then she just shut down. And so when I got ready to get off the plane, I went right to her. She was like on the microphone thing saying, thank you all for coming. We were in LA. It's time to get off, right? It was a white girl. I'm sorry. But it happened to be a white girl. And then the other flight attendant was a black girl. And they were standing there together. So on my way out, while she was on this little announcement thing, I said to her, don't you ever talk to me like that again. I said, don't you ever talk to a black man like that. And she's like, but you about, I said, look, no, I don't want to, don't you ever do that again. Do you understand me? I got right in her face. I'm like, do you understand me? Don't, and I was holding up the line. And I said, do you understand me? And I had my finger and all that. Do you understand me? Don't you ever talk to a black man like that again. I was thinking later I should have said, don't you ever talk to any man like that. That's what I really should have said to her. And she said, I got it. And I said, all right, you better. I walked away. And the reason for that, because I noticed that these young women are out of control. It's not unusual at all to be walking through the airport or the mall. I rarely go to a mall, but the mall, and you see women yelling at men and screaming at them and embarrassing them and just dogging them out. And they're standing there like little wimps and taking it. It's not understanding that the more you take that, the worse they're going to get. But the guys have wimped out. I couldn't believe that woman was doing that to me. I was like, first of all, you better watch how you're talking to me. Everybody just looking.
No, just let me tell you a situation. I worked at Macy's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it was this woman yelling at her husband, but I didn't know it was her husband because he looked younger than her. And so she went somewhere, and I asked him a question. Then I said, oh, when your mom gets back, and he looked, he said, that's my wife. I was like, oh, that's your, he said, whoo, I'm glad she wasn't here to hear that.
Wow.
Because the way she was, and she was
Was
taller
it a white
than
man
him.
or black?
They were black.
Really?
It was like, because she was
Most of
really
the time
taller
I
than
see
him.
it happen to white
And she-
men. The only time I see it happening to black men is if you're at home or you visit family members and I see how they yell at their husbands. But when I'm traveling around, I mostly see white women doing it to white men. I think that's one of the reasons I said, don't you ever talk to a black man like that again. Because it looks like the white men don't mind it. I don't ever see them really standing up and correcting her with that. Even though they look silly and stuff. But I don't know, is that a white thing? Is that a white thing, Kelly? Yeah. Have you seen it though?
I've seen it,
Yeah.
but I haven't really connected it to either race.
There is no way in earth I'll let that happen to me. I'd go to jail first. I would. Yes.
You know what? You may see the woman yelling at the man, like on the street or whatever, but you don't know what the man did in secret. See, that's the problem
There's
with women. It's
nothing he
like,
could have
no,
done.
no, I'm not saying it's okay. No, I'm not saying it's okay.
Oh,
I'm just
okay.
saying that most of the time, men do things like at home or in secret or something, and then the woman take it out, you know, and
In
she's
public.
arguing with him in the public. But the guys, they always do things like secretly, you know, and then women, they don't care when they're upset about something, they don't care who, you know, where they're at, you know, they
That's
just go at
crazy,
it.
though.
You
A
know,
man, no
I'm not
woman
saying it's okay. I'm
has
just saying
no right to disrespect one another in public like that. If you got a problem, take it home. You're supposed to respect one another. There's a thing called respecting one another. You know? So if I'm married, I got a problem, I deal with it at home or in the car on the way to the airport, not in the airport. You know what I mean? And you're not supposed to treat human beings like that. That doesn't even make sense to me. No one should take that kind of stuff. Oh, Lord. Yes, sir.
Oh, I don't know for sure if you should do that ever.
Do
You know?
whatever.
Just even yelling at each other at all. Like, shouldn't there be
I
a
don't mind a
time?
little yelling, but just don't do it in public. You're going to yell sometimes.
Yeah, well, because it sounds like you're saying the woman shouldn't do that. I don't think anybody, a woman or man,
But
should treat
sometimes you have to
anybody.
yell to get the attention of the person.
Yell.
You know what I mean?
Well,
Because can you imagine having an argument like this? Honey, you should not have done that.
you
And
could
then
be
she's
you could
like,
be aggressive.
You're right, honey. I should not have done that. You ain't get nothing solved. You know what I mean? There's a time to yell. It really is.
What do you mean by yell?
Like, hey, what are you doing?
Oh, that's not yelling.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, right. Okay, yes, sir.
I wonder if the same people that think it's wrong for maybe, I don't want to pick on you, Marilyn, but I know. So you said, well, we don't know what the man did to deserve that, right? Would you have that same opinion if you saw a kid yelling at a woman? If you saw a 10-year-old kid yelling at a woman, would you say, well, we don't know what that woman did to that kid, so maybe it's justified?
That's a good point, huh? What? I'm sorry?
yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah. It doesn't even make, we can't get too far off subject with this because I want to get into the salvation thing and we'll run out of time.
If all ideas of salvation are going to pretty much lead you down a path of away from salvation.
Yes.
The only logical thing is like you said with Adam. He was connected with his father, and before he fell, he didn't have all the imaginatory ideas and processes to get back to this place.
Right.
So are you then are you saying that when these ideas dissipate, or if you're not following this trying to follow some kind of a program to it, that there's some kind of a common sense or something that Adam had before he fell into all these ideas about how to get there. So let's just say we get rid of that. So what's left? What's going to tell you, okay, I shouldn't be smoking this dope, or I shouldn't yell at this person. What's left to do that if it's not like these ideas that are
But
in
the
our minds?
ideas are not working.
We
We have
I may
to
have convoluted my question. I probably did, but
we have to become as an empty vessel. We have to return to knowing nothing. Everything that we've been taught, everything that we know, we have to let it go. Because everything that we've been taught about God Satan is using that against us. Everything. When you read the Bible, he interprets a verse for you and make you think that God is interpreting it or the Holy Spirit is interpreting it. When it's not being revealed to you, but it's just more intellectual knowledge.
So what you're asking, though,
I love that question. How do you discern between the two? Here's how you do it. And I need to ask you some questions first, and you're going to see for yourself right here. And so you were not raised with your father and mother, right?
No.
And you resent your father?
Not anymore. I did for a while.
But you did?
Yeah.
And why did you resent him?
I resented him because, you know, the things that he did to my mom, the fact that he wasn't there, and, you know, he used to lie and say one thing. It was really...
And so you left at 3 years old, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But and so did you ask him why did he do those things to your mother?
Nah, but he's like spoken. He said, but it wasn't just my mom. He my grandma pulled a gun on him before his mom.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, and he done fought with my uncles, and he's.
I know, but at 3 years old, you had no clue of what was going on.
Yeah. I also
and so
resented him.
The only opinion you have about your father is the opinion of your mother, of your grandmother, and what everybody else said about why he did.
But I learned from myself. I met him when I was probably about 12 years old.
Right.
But before that, my opinion was based on everyone else's.
Yes.
But then I met him for myself
right.
at around 12 years old, young teen or whatever, and he, the first time that I met him, he got drunk and threatened to throw me and my cousins off of a bridge into the river.
Right.
And pulled over the car and was grabbing my cousin to...
How come he didn't throw y'all off?
I don't know, but it was enough. 12 years old is my first time meeting him.
But your opinion still was based on what you've been told about him from 3 years old.
And seeing that for myself?
Right, but it was still based, the judgment was already there for your father.
Yeah.
Because had you not had the judgment for him and you saw him, you would have had compassion for him and not judgment. You would have seen that your father have issues, right?
Yeah.
And you would have wanted to help him overcome those issues rather than judge him with the judgment that you've already picked up from your mother and your other family members.
Yeah,
it was not your own judgment.
I can understand what you're saying with that, but at a young age like that,
right?
What are you to think at 12 years old and my dad's drunk to the point he could barely talk and he's threatening to throw
so what do you,
a bunch
as
of
an
kids
adult,
off the bridge.
As an adult, what do you think about the fact now that your dad was drunk and mean and stuff like that? Why do you think he was that way?
He got issues with his father.
With his father?
Yeah, his dad was the same way.
Was like him, right?
Yeah.
The issues are with his mother.
Yeah.
He hated his mother.
Yeah.
As you hate your mother. And men and women do not hate their fathers. They long for their fathers. But they hate their fathers with their mother's hatred. Because she and the husband are fighting, the father are fighting. And so what she does is she turns his children away from him by becoming the victim.
Yeah.
Your father's no good. Your father's beating me. Your father's an alcoholic. She doesn't tell you that I drove your father to beat me. I was impossible to deal with. She doesn't tell you that. And your grandmother doesn't tell you that your father's like this because the way I treated him. I controlled him. I was impatient with him. I dogged him out. I turned him away from his father. And now he hates me for it. And he has so much guilt from hating me, that's why he's treating me this way. They don't tell you the truth. They present themselves as the victim when they're really the problem.
Yeah.
And then they turn you away from your father, and because they have turned you away from your father toward them, now you have their identity. You think like a woman, you feel like a woman, you judge men and women like a woman, because men have compassion for their fellow man. They do not judge their fellow man. With Christ, they were getting on him about hanging out with the prostitutes. Remember that? How can you be Christ and hanging out with the prostitutes? Or how can you be Christ and you're hanging out with the tax collector? Remember they got on him about that? But what they didn't know is that Christ could see the essence of the person. He didn't judge people based on the labor that others had put on them.
Yeah.
He didn't judge them, he didn't see them as a prostitute or as a tax collector. He saw the essence of the person. He saw what was going on with them, what had taken possession over their life, and he showed them how to overcome it. That's what men do. And that's what women of God do too. Once they return to their fathers, they take on that identity, compassion, and not judgment. And so everything you feel about your father, the way you see him are not your way. That's your mother, and they're very deceptive. Your mother is not any good. She's lied to you. And how do you feel about her?
My mom? I love my mom, but, I grew up kind of, I was like the bad kid in school. I was always rebellious, and always into stuff.
You couldn't help it because you didn't have your father's love. All you have is your mother's anger.
Yeah.
And you have your grandmother's anger and your uncle's anger, which is all non-manly.
Yeah.
And that's why you couldn't help but act out. You had no love. You were disconnected from your earthly father, and as a result, you're disconnected from God. And when you're disconnected from your earthly father, you have nothing but anger and bitterness in your heart. And so the way to overcome that is that you got to forgive them. And when you forgive them, meaning that get to know yourself. The one thing I've noticed I've been doing this now for 26 years, and I've traveled around the country, and I noticed that the people who don't get to know themselves and start digging in to get all that dirt out of their lives, so salvation is like fresh water. When I lived in Alabama, we used to dig wells, and so we had to dig up all the mud and stuff and dig really deep into the earth. And then we get all the mud out of the way, this fresh water just would pop up. It would just be everywhere. That's how life is.
Yeah.
That's how salvation is. Until you could dig all the mud out of your life, which is anger, judgment. Once you get rid of the judgment and anger, which are both the same, then fresh living water would come up and you can start to live. Because God is not going to let you into the kingdom of heaven until you forgive. It was wrong what your mother did to you. She set you up, man.
Yeah.
And it was wrong for your father not to be there for you, but his mother set him up.
Yeah.
He ended up marrying his mother.
Yeah.
Just like the woman you live with in Vegas can't get along with.
Yeah.
That's your mother. You're living the same life that your father lived.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say that as far as, I don't know about her being like my mom, but my son's mother, I would say so.
Yeah.
She tries to keep my son away from me and this
Yeah.
and that. But I mean, I really make the effort to try. He lives in Reno. I live in Las Vegas. And
But it's even this woman you're with, it's the same spirit. She's just acting a little differently.
Yeah.
Because when you resent your mother, you're attracted to what you hate. Even women that get involved with men, they say, you know what, I feel like I'm with another woman. Like, I'm married to my mother. Because it's the same spirit. They are attracted to that same spirit that they hate. You become subject to it, and you cannot get away from it until you forgive your mother and your father.
And
Especially your mother.
how you do that?
By you know how you do things that you don't really want to do, but you do them anyway?
Yeah.
It's like something that's making you do it. When
Yeah.
you were having all those fights and carrying on, you didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
It's like something would rise up in you and cause you to do it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the spirit that's in your mother.
Yeah.
And so your mother feels the same way. So if you can understand yourself, you do things that you don't want to do, it will help you to understand her, and you will go to her and apologize for hating her.
Yeah.
Then you say, you know, I become just like you, and I now understand how you feel.
Yeah.
And you don't want your son to hate you for not being there, right?
Yeah.
But he will, because his mother going to lie on them
And-
to him about you.
Yeah, and I see
Just
it
like
going
your
on.
mother lied to you about your father.
Yeah.
This cycle has repeated itself. So when you go to your mother, and don't ask her to forgive you, just say to her, I am wrong for hating you. It's wrong for what you've done, but I'm wrong for hating you. I become just like you. And if she says, I'm sorry, that's nice. If she starts to cry, that's nice. If she fall out and die on the floor, Ask grandmama if you have some life insurance so you can bear her. But don't ask her to forgive you. You apologize for hating her, and then God will forgive you.
Yeah.
Because most people, when you ask them to forgive you, they will not forgive you. They see it as a weakness, and they'll control you with it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to forgive you. Or I'll think about it. Or you got to be nicer to me. That's why God has it set up where they don't have to forgive you. You forgive them for what they've done to you, and He will forgive you for hating them.
Yeah.
And you become a free man. And then you can enter into the kingdom of heaven as salvation begins.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
And don't tiptoe around it. Don't be mean. Don't plan what you're going to say. But you're never going to become a man until you can overcome the spirit of your mother. And women, females, are never going to become women until they can overcome the spirit of their mothers and take on their father's identity, which is of Christ. You got to return to the Father. And then, because the sin is not the alcohol, the drugs, the sex, the lying, the video game. That's not the sin. The sin is the judgment, playing God. Make a decision. That's what the sin is, because when you play God, you're separated from the true God. And you become a son of Satan to be your own God. He makes you feel like your own God. You make decisions, you know right from wrong.
I don't really understand that. Like, so it's not a sin. Like
No.
So having sex is not a sin.
No.
So what is?
The proper way to have sex is under the umbrella of God.
Yeah.
Because
Well, having sex out of fornication.
it creates all other kind of problems for you, just like alcohol.
Yeah.
You drink alcohol, it destroys your body, your mind. It lowers your consciousness.
Yeah.
When you have sex, you become addicted to the woman. She become your God. Now you can't live with her or without her. She can't live without you because she like that control she has over you.
Yeah.
It's just because what happened is when you judge, you fall away from God, and now you become worldly.
Yeah.
You start looking to the world to make you feel better.
Yeah.
You're looking for love. You're looking for more money. You're looking for friendship. You're looking for this because now you're no longer connected to the kingdom of heaven within. So the world become your salvation. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And so you pick up all these things so that you can feel good. But when you repent, when you forgive for hating, you enter back to your Father within the kingdom of heaven, and then the worldly things start to fall away because you can't get rid of that on your own. The separation from God, you got to have that, right?
Yeah.
But when you return to the Father, you start to lose the appetite for the world. It naturally starts to fall away.
Yeah.
And then you could be in the world but not of it.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
But the church have told us that the sin is the lying and cheating and all the drugs. So when you do drugs, you judge yourself for the drug, not realize you're judging, and that's why you're doing the drugs.
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
Ain't that deep?
Yeah.
Ain't that deep? That is so deep. And it gets, once you enter into the kingdom of heaven, life begins. And life is nothing what you can imagine, but it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And you become all love all the time. And love is not something you can feel, taste, or touch. It has no feelings. It's just, you see the right thing to do and you do it.
Yeah.
You don't hate your enemy. You don't hate your fellow man. You speak up, but you don't hate. It's a beautiful way of living. And Christ made it possible. He came back. He put everything back in order that Adam messed up for us. And Satan doesn't want us to know that, so he wants to keep you angry so you can continue to listen to his voice and not your Father's voice from within. Ain't that something?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. You gonna deal with your mama?
Yeah.
Your mama is not an angel. That's why your dad he ended up marrying his mama. He hate his mother. Grandmama is a rolling stone.
Yeah.
She's not an angel. I bet she go to church, huh?
I mean, that side of my family, I don't really. I live in Vegas. They live in Iowa, so I don't really.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Don't let grandmama in your house. Anyway, let me do this real fast. I saw this hand first, yes. right here first. And we were like out of time again.
No, so I was just going to ask about the Bible, like when you read, and then like we were talking about like how to read the Bible, and then
Yes.
he's telling me like you read it and then you interpret it, or
Do not interpret.
okay.
And you're going to be reading it. And you're going to be reading the Bible. Thou shalt not steal. Satan's going to be telling you, thou shalt not steal. You shouldn't take from other people. And you're going to think that's interpretation. And then you're going to go around pounding on everybody else with that interpretation. And then you're going to go out and steal, and then you're going to feel guilty about stealing. Just open the Bible up, read a verse or two, put it away, and go your way. Ignore whatever Satan is telling you about it. And then God will reveal. That's how you do it. Revelation is what we live by. The mind of God is what we need to return to. We need to return to the Father. The Bible does say there will come a time when I will return the children back to the fathers and the fathers back to the children. Salvation is about a return to the Father. And become as little kids with your Father. That's what salvation is about. Everybody that is suffering in life today do not have a relationship with their earthly father. Everybody. Those who have a good relationship, even if you're a poor dad and you don't hate your father, you have peace within. Your father died, right?
Yeah.
But see, what happened was, even as a little kid, when your father died, your soul disconnected from him. That's why it's so bad to lose your earthly father at such a young age. And once your soul was disconnected, it connected to your mother, and it changed your life.
Mm-hmm.
It took you away from manhood and brought you into womanhood.
So how do I get to manhood?
That's a good point. Make sure that you forgive your father for dying so early. I don't know what happened. Forgive him for not being there for you. Simply to mean that, how did he die? Or why did he die?
Diabetes. He died in his sleep.
Yeah, so see, he didn't want to die. But as a kid, your soul longed for the Father, so you didn't know that. So if you have any resentment for that at all, let it go. He didn't want to leave you, right? But the most important thing now is to forgive your mother for what she's done to you.
Yeah.
Her lack of patience, the way she treated you, all that stuff she did. And then God will return you back to the Father. That make sense?
Yeah. Makes sense.
Do you understand now how to forgive your your mother?
I gotta forgive my father.
No, forgive your mother. Yeah, are you holding it against your father for not being there?
I mean, I used to, I think,
Yeah.
but I think it's more my mother, just like the way she didn't let me live my life. Like,
Yes.
She basically, I didn't really have a childhood. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is that you hold against her, you need to go to her and say, look, you screwed me up. You didn't let me have a life, and I resented you for that. And I'm just giving you some basic words. You might not even use these words. And just say, I become like you. That's why I've been in all this trouble. I have your nature. And I'm sorry for holding that against you because I become like you, and I don't want to be like you. I want to have love in my heart, not this mess you have in yours. And I'm sorry for hating you. And in that very moment, if you truly feel that way and see that you need to forgive her, God would change you just like that. And he would give you peace, and you can finally live your life. And not your mother's life.
All right.
That make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going to do it?
Yeah, but when I go to Texas, I'm not gonna just do it right now. Like,
Speak it to his name. Say, will you what?
when I go back to Texas for Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
I'll do
She
that.
lives in Texas?
She lives in Texas. I live out here alone.
Wait until you get to Texas. Because it's best to face her. Don't write a letter. That's a cowardly way. Don't make a phone call. That's a coward. You want to face the person that took away your courage, took away your life. And you want to forgive them. You don't want to attack them. You want to forgive them for what they've done to you. And if they apologize, fine. If they don't, fine. You forgive them and go live your life.
It's like made me self-destructive, I feel like, in a way.
Yes, sir. Because there's no love in it. It's only destruction because it's of your father, the devil, which is her father.
And he is, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
What do you think about this? Let me just ask the first time. What do you think about all this? Because we're like out of time. And I got to let Marcus wind it down because he asked this question. Yeah. Yes, sir.
I've been judging myself very hard.
Yeah.
and it's not the voice of the Father. It's the voice
It's
of
what?
Satan. It's the voice of Satan judging me.
Yes.
And that's become clear just through this discussion. And I hope that I look forward to having a relationship with Jesus and being saved. But
Yeah.
I'm not there yet. But learning about the bad judgment and that
Yeah.
I shouldn't be judging myself or I shouldn't be so tough on myself.
As long as
was-
you have that judgment in your heart, you would never know Jesus. You would know about him, but you would never know him. The moment you forgive others and yourself, then you shall know Jesus. And you're going to discover that you are Christ too. Jesus is your brother. Your big brother, sent down by your father, came, and your father, ladies, came and put everything back in order that Adam screwed up, so that you could return back to the Father. And everything that your brother owned, Jesus owned, because his Father owned it, you own it too. You're his son. And you have a responsibility to live that way, to be the light of the world, so that your wife and your children can finally change this whole cycle of destruction that's been passed down from generation to generation. But you got to forgive. That make sense? Yeah. We out of time, right, James? James looking at me, but I got it. To be fair to Marcus, this help Marcus.
Yeah, I just want to say, yeah, it really helped me. And then to top it off is what the person you was just talking to, he just said. He just simplified it too. I mean, it's like really drove it home. Because I've been like really, really critical of myself, judging myself. And I know we talked about that, and it's opened it all up in dialogue so that I understand. I see.
You got to go all the way with this. What it is, it's becoming a child. You're dumping. Our parents spend 18 years of our life screwing us up. And so overcoming this is a lifetime thing. You're constantly getting rid of the mud. And you're becoming as a little child. You're getting to know your Father that's with you now. You're not judging your fellow man. You're not worried about what others think about you. And you're not thinking that way about them. You're just all love. And then when there's an issue, you see how to deal with the issue without judging the person. You become the light of the world, the salt of the earth. You got to go beyond, I hate my mom, I hate my daddy, and look how bad this person is or that person. That's nothing. Satan made another fool of you. But anyway, thank you all for that. That was good. That was like something. Wasn't that something else? You never had church like this, right? I got saved.
While the blood's running warm in your veins, while the blood's running warm in your veins, you better get yourself religion and try to serve the Lord while the blood's running warm in your veins.
For your life?
I said, go see Jesse.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm pretty bad. I said, go see Jesse. I'm not sure.
So are you saved?
Saved? I believe so, but I'm not sure.
You believe so, but you're not sure.
Right.
That's pretty messed up.
That's bad, right?
Yeah. What would you say, Marilyn? You got a salvation thing going. What would you say to Marcus?
I would tell him I have a headache. I can't answer you right now because I have a headache.
So what would you say?
That's what I would say. I have a
Are
headache.
you
I can't
saved?
answer you right now. Am I saved? Yeah.
Yes. You're saved.
Yeah.
And so what would you say to him then, since you are saved? He has these two ideas about salvation. What would you say? Is being saved having knowledge of your imagination? Let him have the mic again. I'm sorry. He can't be speaking off the mic.
Is salvation having, been given the knowledge and I have like this, two ideas about salvation. One is like once you once you accept Christ and, so to speak, I'll say that. I don't mean to put that part, but once you accept Him and you get on the path of seeing, trying to do the right thing and follow His way, that seems to be one way of saying, well, in my mind, as long as you have that, you're saved. Because once you're on the path, then you're saved. Because then there's always hope for you to be free.
Right.
Then on the other side, I see that, to me, it seems like, and it could be, I'm saying this, but it's also a question too.
Right.
But it seems to me like if being saved is
definitely done so that we have a way to return.
I mean, because in a way, I think two ways too. I mean, I thought we were all saved, but I thought it was up to us to meet Him, let's say halfway or something like that.
Meet Him in the fork of the road.
Yeah, but I thought it was all set up for us to be saved.
Right. Okay. And what would you say to him? You're a Christian, right?
Yes.
This your first time here?
Yes.
And so you're a little Christian walking down the road, all holy, and you run up on Marcus and he noticed that you're a Christian, and he asked you those questions. What would you say?
Well, that's kind of hard because I actually, what he said, that's how I feel too.
Oh, you feel the same way?
Yeah, and Sonia, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry?
And the way Sonia feels too.
So you feel like everybody?
Well, just Sonia and Marcus.
Oh, okay. I love that. And so, Mary, what would you say? Because I know you're holy. I've known you for a long time. What would you say? You're saved, sanctified, and running for...
It's more like not being no longer subject to your thoughts.
So you have two ideas about salvation.
Yeah, or getting to a point to where you're living in faith, and you're actually, and your thoughts no longer have you're no longer believing in your thoughts.
So Sonia, you're walking down the road, and Marcus come along, and he knows that you are a Christian because you have this halo over your head. He said, Miss, I have two ideas about salvation. One is you never live in your thoughts again, and you start to get over this stuff. And the other one is whatever else he said. What would you say?
From my thinking, I thought we were all saved.
That's what you would say to him?
Yeah, that's what I was brought up to believe.
Oh, okay. And what does that mean that we are all saved?
I mean, I thought once Jesus died on the cross, I thought that was like done, like we were all saved.
What would the path to follow, and as long as you decided to accept that path, and you basically you're saved because you're eventually going to get there, or is it just simply being no longer believing in the lies and in your thoughts in your mind? Does that make you saved?
It's both. He says it's both. What do you say to that now, Marilyn?
I can't. I'm like, I would say it's the second one.
The second one. The second box.
The second one.
What do you say, Kelly?
I think it's both what he's saying.
You think it's both? Okay. Right here. Then I'll give my little answer to it. This is so fun. Salvation.
I think it's both, but as far as the knowledge and walking, you got to have the knowledge and you have to walk the path.
Oh, okay.
Because
so both plus knowledge.
Yeah, because if you know right and you still choose to do wrong, then
Do you ever choose to do wrong?
Yeah.
Why?
It's different now than before. Like before, I just did it and I didn't care.